It's time for Tony DuMont's Game Show, where game shows are made to be shows. And here's the host with the most active, Tony DuMont.
Thank you, everybody! Thank you watching online, and thank you, Skippy! Welcome to Tony DuMont's Game Show, the show about game shows! What were you expecting, stock reports? For my inaugural installment, I'd like to present a show that a lot of you out there and I grew up watching. Now, I have never really cared for American Idol, but I do enjoy a certain Central American Idol.
Legends of the Hidden Temple.
Legends of the Hidden Temple debuted on Nickelodeon in September 1993 and ran for 3 seasons, followed by the excessive years of repeats for which Viacom is renowned. The packager, Stone Stanley Productions, previously gave us the hit children's game show Funhouse, which lends a lot to Legends, such as the head-to-head stunts between one or more members of the team, and an endgame where players run one at a time through a house full of obstacles. Yet this show is a bit more popular than its predecessor. In fact, it's considered one of the best children's game shows of all time, and for good reason. The show, which takes place in a Mayan setting a la Indiana Jones, is known for its stone co-host, and the giant granite idol to whom the temple belonged. The human with the microphone is Kirk Fogg, and the granite idol is Olmec, voiced by accomplished voiceover actor D. Bradley Baker. Each episode centered around a certain historical artifact, and 6 teams of 2 kids each, a boy and a girl, competed in 3 elimination rounds of mental and physical challenges for the chance to retrieve that artifact from the titular temple.
Do you remember the names and colors of all 6 teams?
Will it be the Red Jaguars? The Blue Barracudas? The Green Monkeys? The Orange Iguanas? The Purple Parrots? Or the Silver Snakes?
If you knew that, it really doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things.
In the first round, the teams must cross the moat, a small swimming pool where the method of crossing varies from episode to episode, using items such as ropes, rafts, or inner tubes. The first 4 teams to complete the crossing properly and hit a gong on the other side to finish, which didn't actually look like a gong, but perhaps the minds had different ideas when it came to percussion instruments, proceed to the next round. This round is a bit uneven because the different ways they cross the moat vary by difficulty, so it takes a lot longer on some episodes than on others, but you can expect that on stunt-based game shows. It's still a good race and an energetic way to start the game. The next round is the Steps of Knowledge, where Olmec narrates the legend surrounding the artifact du jour, loosely based on an actual mythical or historic figure from some part of the world.
And I do mean loosely based. While I give the show credit for introducing us to a whole lot of mythical and historic figures from both sexes and all sorts of cultures around the world, Legends of the Hidden Temple is clearly no substitute for a history book.
To test his idea, Galileo went to the famous Leaning Tower of Pisa. He climbed the steps of the tower, and when he got to the top, he leaned out over the edge and dropped the cannonballs. They both landed at the same time, proving Galileo's theory and launching his career as a famous scientist. But that's not all. Legend has it that the cannonballs landed right smack dab on 2 cheese and pepperoni sandwiches, thereby proving his theory and inventing pizza.
Even most of the artifacts themselves were probably made up for the show, and in some cases, they could never have existed. One example was the silver saddle horn of Hannibal. The horn was not applied to the saddle until the days of the Old West, more than 2 millennia later. Another was the bifocal monocle of Bluebeard's henchman, One-Eyed Jack. Bifocals were not even invented yet.
Not so fast!
Olmec, is that you?
As long as I'm in charge of a show, I will tell the legend any way I wish, thank you very much. If I say Galileo invented pizza, he did!
Alright. I'll let you do things your way.
Good! Better not to rock the boat.
Back to the review.
In the first season, while the legend was told, we were usually shown a shot of an actor as the historic figure, and I wonder how much Stanislavski you have to study for that. In seasons 2 and 3, they showed us a montage of pictures. Either way, Olmec, or D actually, knew how to tell the story, making full use of his vocal talents.
Yoritomo, do you know the penalty for disobeying the Shogun?
I'm grounded for 2 weeks with no TV.
Ordinarily, I insist on beheading.
But sire, my hat collection!
After the legend, Olmec tells us the room where the artifact is located, but never exactly explains how it could have wound up in an ancient Mayan ruin, unless the Mayans were more advanced than we gave them credit for. They did develop mathematics and a writing system, so they could surely find a way to travel all over the world and through time. Just look at the temple itself. It's clearly influenced by civilizations from other eras and parts of the world. It even has a working elevator, electricity, and frickin' laser beams. How could the archaeologists have missed that? Perhaps the Spaniards are to blame. Anyway, Olmec then asks a series of questions, each with 3 possible choices, from or pertaining to the legend.
Before she became a spy, had Matahari already gained fame for being an opera star, a dancer, or a model?
Silver snakes.
Dancer.
That is correct.
But mostly just minimally related, since the legend is only about a minute long and has only enough material for half a dozen questions or so.
Which of these men was the greatest flying ace of World War I? The Sopwith Camel, the Red Baron, or the Blue Max?
Blue Barracudas.
The Red Baron.
That is correct.
All right, come on down.
To answer, the teams step on the ancient marking in front of them to jump in. It's a nice twist on just hitting a buzzer. A correct answer allows the team to proceed to the next step, while a wrong answer or none at all allows the other players a chance to step in. Only 2 teams may answer each question. It takes 3 correct answers to reach the bottom step, and the first 2 teams to do so proceed to round 3. Some say that this round is the weakest part of the show, being a Q&A round in a show that's mostly about physical stunts, but I disagree. I think it's a good change of pace. Plus, going into physical stunts right after the legend might have been a bit too jarring. And this is the right place in the show for a Q&A round. It's not the opening round, nor the deciding round, it fits in well in between. So now we go on to that deciding round, the Temple Games.
Now the glory goes to the fastest and the strongest.
The 2 remaining teams are more fully introduced and face off in 3 skill games. Well, mostly skill, patterned after the legend, played on a rotating series of apparatuses, such as climbing walls or soap-covered surfaces. The object of each game was usually to complete the task first or make the most progress in 60 seconds. A different player from each team competed in each of the first 2 games, of which the winner received half of a pendant of life for use in the temple, and both players played the 3rd game worth a full pendant. After all 3 games, the team with the most pendants went to the temple. If both teams ended with the same total, a tiebreaker question from the legend was asked, and the players rang in on the gongs from the moat crossing. A correct answer got you to the temple. A wrong answer gave your opponents the win in Season 1. After that, it just gave them the chance to answer. For a stunt round, it's solid, fast-paced, and exciting. It's also noteworthy that unlike in other children's game shows, there's not much of a mess aside from the water and soap suds, with 2 notable exceptions, and even that was completely phased out by Season 3. Of course, this isn't the sort of game show that calls for a huge mess. The focus is clearly on action and adventure, and green slime would have been too silly for the setting.
The only messy substance that would have really suited this show would have been the blood of losing contestants, and I don't think that would have sat well with parents.
Tony, is that a Mayan joke?
Well, I'm sure that's how the Mayans did things.
You white Europeans think you're so high and mighty. What if I made a joke about you exterminating us and stealing our land and raping our women? Would you like that?
I suppose you couldn't really joke about that.
Exactly. It's not so funny now, is it?
Yes, I see that. Well, perhaps now would be a good time for a break.
Well, that's rather convenient for you, going to a break when things get uncomfortable, because Lord forbid you have to admit the wrongdoings of your own cultural...
Where was I? Oh yes, it's the part to which the game has been building, the Temple Run. The 1 remaining team gets the chance to retrieve the artifact from an ancient temple, with 12 or 13 rooms depending on the layout, and they vary from episode to episode, at least they did in the first 2 seasons. In each room you must hit the actuator beside the door to open it, usually after negotiating some obstacle, or else perform some kind of stunt to open the doors. The team has 3 minutes to enter the temple, 1 player at a time, get the artifact and bring it back through the temple gate.
Return through the gates with the dog leash in 3 minutes, and you will both be handsomely rewarded. And here's how!
The show followed Nickelodeon's 3-prize format. Each member of the winning team received a decent prize for having made it to the temple, an even better prize for reaching the artifact, and the grand prize, always a trip, for making it out with the artifact. However, most teams did not actually win for a number of reasons. One being that a lot of doors were locked, and players didn't find out until they'd taken the time to try to open those doors, which meant that there was usually only one direct path to the artifact.
The choices are yours, and yours alone.
Yes, but there isn't a whole lot of choice, except in those rooms where you have to pick the right item, which pretty much amounts to luck of the draw. And some of the tasks required to open the doors were trickier than others. Which brings me to the one room people remember, the one that was featured in every episode, and the one that seemed to give the most trouble, the Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
You mean the Shrine of the Silver Monkey?
No, just the shrine. You don't need to add more syllables like an R&B singer.
Again with the racial jokes.
That wasn't a racial joke. Ever listen to R&B? You know how they stretch out every syllable?
Of course I listen to R&B. You have to when you're surrounded by children in the 90s. But if I have to hear any more racist statements...
This is my show, need I remind you?
Look, I've had to kowtow to Nickelodeon's diversity requirements. Why should you get off easy?
Back to the Shrine of the Silver Monkey.
The objective is to assemble the Silver Monkey statue, which has 3 parts, base, middle, and head, and place it on its pedestal. It seems simple enough, and yet many teams struggled with it. To think of all the runs that ended over the inability to solve this preschool-level puzzle. Really, how hard could it be?
The worshippers of the Silver Monkey knew that they were powerless against the spread of Buddhism, so they separated their beloved idol into 3 parts and scattered them before their enemies could get to it. But first, they drew up a sacred scroll with instructions on how to reassemble the Silver Monkey and hid it carefully, hoping that someday somebody would find these instructions and restore the sacred icon to its proper glory. For centuries, the scroll was lost, until a middle schooler from Central Florida retrieved it, and the spirits bestowed a mountain bike, a video game console, and a trip to space camp on her and her partner, even though he nearly blew the quest. And here are the instructions. However, not everyone has followed them. How's that?
Amateur.
And as if that didn't make things hard enough, there are the temple guards.
The rooms are filled with lost treasures that are protected by mysterious Mayan temple guards.
3 different rooms each contain one, ready to capture you. Each temple guard only comes out once, but still it's sufficient to scare the players. Well, surely you can see they're the show's spotters in Mayan garb, but come on, $10 says that those guards scared the bejesus out of you when you were younger. Really, you're racing against the clock, you're under a lot of pressure, and they jump out and grab you by surprise, so you'd get nervous, right?
Tony, it's actually not excusable.
Come on, Skippy, these are just kids!
Yes, but you're considerably older.
Well, maybe I got creeped out by the temple guards when I was younger, but nowadays...
Mark! Oh, temple guards scared her!
Tony.
I was just, shell-shocked.
This is where the pendants of life come into play.
The winning team will need those pendants to protect them from the dreaded temple guards as they make their way through the temple.
If you have one when you're captured, you can give it to the guard and continue. Otherwise, you get removed from the temple and your partner has to enter. Which makes you wonder how safe these artifacts can be if kids could just run right through and pay off the guards with trinkets. The first player always started with a full pendant, and the second player got whatever was left. So if the teams had won the maximum 2 pendants, they were safe. Otherwise, the run would end if the second player got captured. If the team had 1.5 pendants, half a pendant would not be enough to save you, but mercifully, the other half was hidden in the temple, usually en route to the artifact, and you could use both halves as one. Unless, of course, you completely overlooked that half pendant when it was right in front of you and ended up paying the price afterward. Which many teams did. You fool! Once you reach the artifact, all the doors unlock and the temple guards disappear, so all you have to do is run right out with it. Assuming you don't take the long and difficult path out and end up running out of time, which a fair number of teams did. You fool! And I haven't even told you about the teams that backtrack or make the wrong direction or go around in circles or stall in one room or even completely miss the artifact when it was right in front of them, or that one time when the player found the artifact only to drop it and not realize it until too late. You fool!
Of course, these epic fails did serve a useful purpose for some of us.
You reeked all over the field! You run like a crippled turtle!
Sorry, coach!
Another paper in the sprinkler? You ought to be replaced with a trained monkey!
Sorry, sir.
2 minutes late. Your brother's brain damaged and he always comes in on time.
Sorry, Mom.
It's base, middle, head. 3 parts! How hard can it be? The artifact was right there and you missed it! Come on! Indiana Jones, you ain't! Well, at least you got a new pair of rollerblades. Not that you earned it! In conclusion, Legends of a Hidden Temple is clearly one of the great children's game shows of the 1990s, as well as an overall great game show, period.
The game is a challenging combination of physical and mental stunts that builds up suspense toward the temple run, which is not just some bonus round, it's the focus of the show and one of the most exciting and action-packed endgames of any game show. It's no surprise that fans analyze the temple runs to this day. Aside from the few luck elements, you really had to know how to play in order to succeed. The setting and music helps a lot as well, making the show feel less like a game show than a real adventure quest. Although I think the set looked a bit too dark by Season 3. My one real problem with the show has to be with Kirk Fogg.
They have to meet him over and over and over again. This sounds like Groundhog Day.
He stumbled with his lines, showed a lack of charisma, and even tried to be funny when he clearly wasn't. Which may explain why, although Kirk gave the rules for the stunts in the temple run and even read the tiebreaker questions in Season 1, these duties were relegated to Olmec for the remainder of the run. Although in Kirk's defense, he wasn't given time to prepare, and was actually reading the cue cards for the first time. And even if this were corrected, it might not have kept him from being upstaged by Olmec, who completely owned the show. He displayed more personality and a stronger delivery than Kirk, and just the right amount of humor, enough to keep things amusing while retaining his authority.
Are you ready, Olmec?
I'm rockin' ready.
Perhaps any other host would have been overshadowed as well.
Kirk, I think you've had enough.
You know what I've had enough of? Having everyone go up to me and say, "Hey, you're that guy from that kid's game show with the talking stone head." Like that's all I've ever done with my life.
Well, at least you got to be on TV.
What kind of a gig was it? All those years at the conservatory, and I end up on this stupid kid's game show where I look like an idiot. And it's all I'm known for. I can't even get background work.
Yeah, and you don't even have enough for your tab most of the time.
Don't remind me. If I have to wash dishes again all night...
Boy, you better make up your mind soon. We're closing in half an hour.
It's closing time. Lost track of time. I used to have this gold Rolex watch from my uncle, and it's been missing all week.
The watch of Kirk Fogg can be found!
Where? In the Shrine of a Silver Monkey?
No, in his girlfriend's basement.
The bitch! She could have at least given it back when she threw me out! This is Tony DuMont saying, the choices are yours and yours alone. And if you choose to watch Tony DuMont's Game Show, you'll be handsomely rewarded. Though right now I can't quite explain how. Thank you, Olmec. And by the way, about that calendar that predicted the end of the world in 2012, well, that was a bit off the mark, wasn't it?
Okay, so what? Would you have been happier if the world came to an end? I'm a folklorist, not a calendar maker.
Very well. Good night, everybody! It's me, Kirk. When you throw someone out of the house, you give them back what's theirs. What did you do with my watch? Come on, I just want it back! My uncle gave it to me! What else am I supposed to sell on eBay? They only let you sell so much blood in a month! Come on! Come on!